So in case you were wondering, is the New Mutants officially part of the old X-Men continuity? The answer is yes, but the answer is also a little bit more complex than a simple yes. So recently, Josh Boone, who of course is the director of New Mutants, got to talk a little bit about the fact that this film is built as a sort of standalone film, but it is also in the X-Men universe. And when asked about the X-Men universe, he said that there are direct references to characters and events that happen outside of this film, such as the fact that obviously Magic is Colossus's sister. That is something that's present, that still exists here, and it will be acknowledged, but it will not be shown. Now, what else they said that I found really interesting was the fact that when they first started writing this film, it was way more deeply connected, and they said by the end of the original film, you were going to be able to see how it connected to the overarching story and everything else that was going on. Now, if you look at what's happening, in the main X-Men continuity at the time, they were all over the place. Different decades, it was all sort of ambiguous to where everything took place. And that's one of the reasons they actually decided to make New Mutants something that sort of lives outside of the existence of these other films, because again, Deadpool was more modern day, but then Deadpool sees the X-Men from the 90s. It just sort of didn't make sense. So for the sake of confusion, you're not gonna get a definitive answer on everything in this movie, but what they did say is by the end of it, we sort of understand when and where it takes place to relation to some of the other ones, and if you're a bigger fan, you'll start to understand a little bit more of how this could have connected down the road to something bigger. So I think that's kind of as much as we really need. I mean, we understand the mutants, we understand it's part of the old continuity. We understand it's not part of the MCU. If it's ever going to be or not, probably not, but you never know these days. So I think this sort of makes sense. There's different mutants throughout the X-Men franchise. Obviously Gifted was connected to the movies. Legion was connected in a weird way. It was all sort of connected. And then even if you look at the X-Men movies themselves, they were like connected yet disconnected from one another because they would contradict their own events and things and timelines. So again, I think what he's saying is, and what they're all saying is, yes, it takes place in the X-Men film universe, but you could stretch that to maybe not really overthink it, and if it doesn't line up with some pieces, don't worry about it. And I mean, they literally did that with Days of Future Past. They set up a couple things at the end of that movie that they literally said they never want to explore and pay off. It was just cool setup. So there you go.